Welcome back to Canadian Justice, where we are discussing a process, a CRTC process that could result in Fox News being banned from Canadian airwaves. And this challenge to Fox News' status was brought to the CRTC by LGBTQ group EGAL. Now, let's talk about what prompted this. This was in response to a segment on Tucker Carlson, a show which has, by the way, now been canceled. Does the cancellation of the show change any of the equation? But before that, what can you tell me about the comments themselves that triggered this? And we don't have to give our opinion on Tucker or on his comments. I'm just curious what led to EGAL making this complaint.
Sure. The comments that Tucker Carlson were making were within the context of the assault on or the murders at a Christian school, and sort of coinciding with the trans, and I stand to be corrected on the day, but it's Day of Action, Day of Rage, something like that. And Carlson put them two together and was being critical. He was very careful, I thought, to be saying some members of the trans community. He used the word some 2 or 3 times, which is, something that your lawyer would tell you to do when you're doing these sorts of things. But that's what came about. And then EGAL looked at that and they said, this is outrageous. He's saying that trans people hate Christians and et cetera, et cetera. And he's putting this all together. And this amounts to abusive comment, to use the sort of CRTC phrase, which is what it had used in the banning of RT, and then filed its complaint with the CRTC and said, well, this is abusive. You've got directions to give us to keep us in mind in terms of protection. And so you should delist Fox News from your list of approved foreign services.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that they've argued is that foreign broadcasters in Canada are held to the same standard as Canadian channels, which forbids this abusive comment. Now, we can debate whether or not these comments in particular rose to the level of abusive comment, but I'm more interested in how the CRTC makes that determination, because the term abusive comment to me seems quite inherently squishy. It seems subjective. How do they make a decision about what constitutes abusive content in a way that is consistent with our charter guaranteed rights to freedom of expression and freedom of the press?
Well, here's where it gets really tricky, okay? So I'll try to summarize this as best I can. Traditionally, the CRTC, under the Broadcasting Act, is instructed to make sure that the broadcasting is of good standard or high standard. I believe good standard is the phrase, which is very subjective. But it's within the context of the fact that traditional broadcast licenses were transactional, right? The spectrum, the airwaves are a crown asset. If you wanted to use them, you applied to use them, and the government through the CRTC said, here's the rules. We expect you to conduct yourself, no abusive comment, no hate speech, that sort of stuff. So you do that. With the CRTC being in charge of the internet, that's quite different because it's impositional, not transactional. So there aren't two people haven't agreed to the rules. So when it comes to I'm just doing that when it comes to the approved foreign services, they have never agreed to the rules, right? They just get picked up and carried, right? And the cable companies carry them. So there's been no transaction, no prior discussion. However, when the CRTC made its decision on RT, it decided to apply the rules, the transactional rules that it used under abusive comment to the foreign services. So you're applying a set of rules to somebody that somebody hasn't agreed to. So that's how crazy and complicated this sort of thing can get. So, but once you do that, that's where Pablo Rodriguez and the CRTC, with the RT decision, opened the door. They should have just dealt with RT as a sanction and just had it delisted as a sanction.
Especially since it's government affiliated, right? I think I can see clearly how it could fall under a sanctions list.
Yeah, it's government affiliated. But at the same time, it's been more than 3.5 years since they've sat on and done nothing about a complaint with CCTV, which is Chinese state television.
Now, just in about 30 seconds, Tucker's gone. Does that change anything in this application?
It'll change something if the CRTC wants to change it. I mean, frankly, the easy move right now for the CRTC is just for the commission to take a look at it and say, you know what, the guy's moved
Right.
on. We'll just consider the issue moot.
Right.
And
Yeah. And I think that is what Fox has argued as well. I think that they might be making that exact case.
Yes.
We've got to go to break now, but we will be right back.